with that. The old woman had seen the local pubs as dens of iniquity and would, no doubt, have turned in her new grave had her son chosen to hold her wake, surrounded by locals enjoying a lunchtime pint. Allie shivered. All this thinking about graves and funerals summoned her own dark clouds to the horizon, and the old sadness tugged at her heart. She didn't have time for this today, so she'd have to pin her knickers to her vest and get on with things. She'd open the oven door, and the comforting aromas of grilled cheese and caramelized onion greeted her. Just in time. She removed the trays from the oven, then set them on the worktop to cool. "Hey, Mum!" Allie turned to find Jordan had joined her in the kitchen. "Oh, thank goodness. I thought you'd forgotten you were working this morning." He shook his head, and his floppy fringe fell over his left eye. "Of course not. Would I let you down?" He gave her a cheeky grin, then pulled an apron from a drawer and hooped it over his head. Allie knew she could tell her son that he had let her down in the past, and that yes, he did sometimes oversleep and forget about his Saturday morning shifts at the cafe too, but she didn't. He was here now, and that was what mattered. "Where do you want me?" "You oversee things out front. I'll get everything finished up in here, then come and help you. Just keep the tea and coffee going." Jordan paused, then rubbed the back of his neck as he inhaled deeply, a sign that he was worrying about something. "What is it, love?" "Mum, are you, okay?" "Why, Jordan?" He met her eyes, and she watched as he chewed his lower lip. "Well, you know, with this being awake." Allie nodded. "Honestly, I'm fine. This isn't the first wake we've done since your dad—" She swallowed the end of her sentence. "Well, I'm here for you." "I know, and I'm here for you too. I love you, Jordan." He smiled. "I know. Now, go and make some hot beverages." "Yes, Mom." He gave her a mock salute, then disappeared. Allie knew why he was concerned about her, and she was worried about him for the same reason. Funerals always reminded them of Rogers, and although she had been strong in front of her children at the time, it had been truly awful. She turned her attention back to the quiches and removed them from the trays, then deposited them onto foil serving platters before adding sprigs of decorative parsley. The pastry was light and crisp, and the cheese on top had a rich golden hue. She might have got some things wrong in her life, but she did know how to bake, and opening the cafe had been, perhaps, the best decision she'd ever made. Of course, it had been a lifelong ambition too, one she'd harboured since her days at secondary school, when she'd excelled at food technology. She'd always enjoyed baking with her mother as a child, and an enthusiastic cookery teacher had encouraged her to consider baking as a career. However, she'd fallen in love. After sitting her A-levels, and an unexpected pregnancy had led her to sideline her ambitions. She'd still baked regularly and taken cakes and savoury delights to birthday parties, village fetes and church celebrations, but thought her cafe dreams would never be realised. Some things brought out a wave of yearning in her, like occasional trips to Bath when they'd visit the delightful tea rooms for refreshments. But she'd told herself she was lucky to be a wife and mother and tucked her old ambitions firmly away. Until her life had changed dramatically and she'd had to make some big decisions. Allie shook the sadness away. She couldn't afford to think about all that right now. She had to focus on the positives. She'd had another good spring, and early summer was looking good so far, in part because the medieval Surrey village of Heatherlea was a tourist attraction, which meant plenty of business for the cafe, and she was seeing some pleasing profits. Her situation was looking better by the minute, and she was hoping that August would bring plenty of customers. She had her own business, 2 wonderful grown-up children, 2 funny cats, and her grief was not as sharp as it once was. She crossed her fingers instinctively as superstition shrouded her. The future looked bright, but she'd never take anything for granted. Everything could change within minutes. She lifted 2 of the serving platters of quiches and turned round.